Semiconductors are the core driver of technological development in the world today and an important symbol of national competitiveness. However, Japan, once a global leader in semiconductors, has gradually lost its edge in the last 20 years, even falling behind TSMC, Samsung, and other companies in advanced logic processes. To revive the semiconductor industry, the Japanese government and companies have joined forces to establish Rapidus, a company focused on developing future 2nm processes and supported by and in cooperation with the world's 7 largest chip giants. Rapidus is a semiconductor R&D company established in 2022 by 8 companies including Toyota, Sony, and Renesas in Japan, with the goal of achieving trial production of the 2nm process in 2025 and mass production in 2027. In order to achieve this goal, the Japanese government not only heavily subsidizes Rapidus, but also actively pulls in global semiconductor companies for investment and cooperation. On May 18, according to news from Reuters, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida personally invited the main 7 chip giants to talks. These 7 companies are TSMC, Intel, Samsung, Micron, IBM, American Applied Materials, and the Belgian Microelectronics Center IMEC. These 7 companies are all leading companies or institutions in the semiconductor field, covering various aspects of chip design, manufacturing, packaging, testing, equipment, and materials. They have expressed interest and support for semiconductor R&D in Japan and have expressed their willingness to engage in technology exchange and cooperation with Rapidus. The Japanese government also said it will provide preferential tax and investment policies for these partners. 7 major chip giants will launch their own investment layout in Japan, such as Micron Technology's proposal to put the next generation of DRAM in Japan for production. Intel also said to expand cooperation with Japan in the back-end process. Of course, the chip giants to invest in Japan is naturally to fight for the benefits, including getting Japanese subsidies to fund the necessary industry chain support in Japan. Do not underestimate the Japanese semiconductor, although Japan's chip manufacturing strength in general, but the overall strength is very strong. Japanese companies in various areas of semiconductor products have a high market share. For example, Fuji Chemical, JSR, and other Japanese monopoly on high-end photoresists. Canon, Nikon in photolithography also has good strength. Only the Japanese semiconductor had been suppressed by the United States, resulting in the Japanese semiconductor silence for decades. Now Japan wants to follow the trend of the times. To revive the semiconductor is also a reason. First of all, semiconductors are the basis of national security and economic development. Semiconductors are not only widely used in consumer electronics, communications, computers, and other fields, but also a key support for emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, autonomous driving. Without an autonomous and controllable semiconductor industry, there is a risk of supply chain disruption and technology blockade. Secondly, semiconductor is the bridge between Japan and global cooperation, and Japan needs to maintain good economic and trade relations with other countries and regions. And semiconductor as a high value-added and high-tech products can provide Japan with more cooperation opportunities and discourse. Based on the various needs for semiconductors, Japan has reorganized itself, and from the current situation, Japan has welcomed the support of the 7 major chip giants. Even for the distant future, Japan has set the goal of sprinting to 1nm. This will be led by Rapidus is responsible for the project. According to Rapidus, the Japanese announced plans to build the first 2nm chip factory in Hokkaido, the fastest mass production in 2027, after which will also build 1nm chip factory. Japan is ambitious. Even if the 7 chip giants support, there is a large number of financial subsidies into the semiconductor industry. The difficulty of reviving the semiconductor is also very large. On the one hand, the development of semiconductor processes require huge capital investment and long-term technology accumulation. It is estimated that the jump from 45 nanometers process to 2 nanometers process requires an investment of at least $100 billion and takes more than 10 years. If it is made 1 nanometer, the resources invested will be even more. Japan does not have the advantage of chip manufacturing base. Everything has to start from scratch. 10 years is still a conservative estimate. On the other hand, the development of semiconductor processes require high-end talent and equipment. In the past 20 years, due to the shrinking market and brain drain, Japan lacks sufficient innovation capacity and competitiveness in the field of semiconductors. Chip industry talent is concentrated in Taiwan and South Korea. They represent the TSMC. Samsung Electronics gathered the world's top chip talent. If Japan cannot solve the problem of talent needs, everything is in vain. There is another point worth focusing on. Semiconductor process development needs to face fierce competition and change. In the 2 nanometers process has been TSMC, Samsung and other companies have achieved a leading edge, and is moving to 1 nanometer or even lower nodes. Not look at TSMC, Samsung are involved in Japan's semiconductor industry investment, but really involves the core technology. I'm afraid the 2 giants will not be so generous. Japan still have to stand on their own feet. Of course, all things are possible if you can successfully achieve the 2 nanometers process and a breakthrough in the 1 nanometer process, then Japan will return to the forefront of the global semiconductor field. As for whether the United States will again take a shot at Japan, it is not Japan can decide.